Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So, I just got done watching The Mummy 2, The Mummy Returns, or The Mummy 2 Returns, and I have an issue with the time gap. Like, yes. Okay, cool. Starts out and we see it be the year's 1933, which means Alex should be either 6 or 7, depending on when he was born. If he was conceived in early 1926, he would have been at least going on 8. Or going on 7. Either going on 7 or 6. 6 or 7. He should be 6 or 7 by throughout the whole events. But the kid looked 10. The kid looked 10. That's a far cry from 1926. That's a huge gap between 1926 and 1933. Unless they casted a 10-year-old to act or to be like 6 or 7, but I don't really know. I don't really know how they managed to do that, but it is interesting. It is interesting. But the only thing is, it takes place about 3 years before the events of Indiana Jones 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Which makes sense. It's because The Mummy takes place in 1926. After the whole narration of The Mummy, or how the Mummy, Epitep, or whatever his name is, after we get a brief history lesson of ancient Egypt in The Mummy 1, which the beginning of the battle starts in, or the beginning is in 1923. Okay, great. Then we cut to 3 years later, which we don't know what happened 3 years later, earlier, or 2 years later, or in that span of 2 years, which we know he made it his way to another, but also we know that the events of The Mummy, the rest of the events of The Mummy takes place in 1926, which makes sense, This makes sense because it's like about 6 or 7 years later, which is 1933, which would be when during the Great Depression, which wasn't easy, in those times. But still, but still, the kid looked 10. And see, as a kid, when this movie first came out, I thought it was cool, you know. I didn't really pay too much attention to the age of the kid when I was first watching it on repeat and when it came on cable or TV at the time. But now I'm starting to notice, I have started to notice that the Mummy is kind of it's kind of inconsistent in its age gap or timeline. But I mean, this is fucking George of the fucking Jungle Mummy movie, okay? This is Brandon fucking Fraser's Mummy. And like, okay, cool. And the Scorpion King, it was all about resurrecting the Scorpion King just to kill the Scorpion King again. Like, it's the most earliest 2000s movie you can possibly think of for like a monster movie, but it was just weird. It felt rushed, like wicked rushed. But then again, it's a classic. It's a classic. It was entertaining. It was entertaining when it first came out. It's still entertaining now. I mean, it's not even scary. It's like, it's so freaking laughable. It's kind of sad. Like, I enjoyed the Brandon Fraser Mummy movies. I never really watched their animated series, which I am watching now, but I will explain how that takes place like about a few months later. But anyways, or like a month or so later. But it is interesting, I have to say. It's not the worst movie of the early 2000s or the 2000s, the first decade of the 2000s, but it was something. It was something, okay? It was something. And I was like I was 5 going on 6 when this movie came out. God damn, I'm old. It came out in 2001? Damn, I'm freaking old. I was born in fucking 96. I was 5 years old when this movie came out. God damn. Oh man, I feel old. Like, man, this movie is interesting, but it does take place about 3 years earlier. Yeah, it does take place 3 years early before the events of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, interesting movie. And the Scorpion King looks horrible, and it just got the Scorpion King franchise just kept getting worse and worse with every passing movie that they tried to build on. But anyways, I do love the first. I do love the Brandon Fraser Mummy movies because it's just one of those unique movies that nobody nowadays really talks about, but like it is what it is. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys so far for right now. Please like, share, subscribe, and have a good day. Thanks. Bye.